If you're new to our channel, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really just helps out. We're talking about COVID-19 and where it may or may not have come from. Was it a natural illness that's just appeared, or was it man-made, potentially in a lab in the Wuhan province?
Trump's revelations in the recent days are pretty much saying that he's seen evidence of.
Yeah. Even though his intelligence services have come straight out and released a statement saying, we haven't seen this evidence and there's no evidence currently that it was man-made. So he disagrees with his own intelligence services again. But I think intelligence services, when it's this important, tend to deal with absolutes, don't they? Whereas Donald Trump doesn't, potentially.
No. He may have thinks he's seen the evidence, perhaps.
First of all, China sequenced the genome of this illness really quickly. I mean, by mid-January, we had a sequence, but I actually thought that was released by the Chinese government. But actually it wasn't. Yeah, it was a company within China, or a lab within China, that sequenced it, sent that information to the CCP expecting a response, didn't get one after 5 days, so just released it, just put it onto these forums and released all the information, much to the annoyance of the Chinese government afterwards.
One story circulating is that Bill Gates owns a patent for COVID-19. However, this isn't quite true. The Pilbright Institute, partly financed by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, did patent a weak strain not related to COVID-19 or any other bat variant back in 2018. This patent was to protect their work on this strain of corona as part of plans to create a vaccine for birds and other animals. Could this still have been part of some evil plan? I don't know, but as usual, it's just not as simple as some would lead you to believe. It is really true, though, that Bill Gates is throwing his billions into this, and that is for certain. His motivations, I hope, are for the betterment of mankind, but it is really a concern that his agenda, whatever that might be, is driving so much debate and research. Back in China, though, the cover-up was in full swing.
Yes.
Several statements were released by early January saying, do not share information. There was actually a statement by the head of the Wuhan P4 lab telling all of the employees, destroy any conclusions you've made, destroy any evidence you've got, and don't talk to anybody. So, not the actions of somebody that's completely innocent and trying to help the rest of the world.
Certainly not. No, seems like the actions of a man trying to cover up the true source.
Yeah, an entire country trying to cover up the true source. So the science of it then. Do we have any scientific evidence to suggest it could be man-made?
We should say the bulk of the mainstream science community say that this is a naturally occurring virus, evolutionary related to SARS and MERS. But there are some questions that still need to be answered.
Yes, there's quite a substantial amount of scientific evidence that suggests that it's man-made in terms of the sequencing of the virus itself and the similarity of certain proteins, the NSP and the NSP7 and the E proteins. 87% on the NSP7 protein.
I think there was 2 to 3 different proteins, amino acids groups that were 100% the same. And some scientists, not a biologist, that's Donald Trump's favourite saying as well. Not a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but you should do this. Like, what you should do is maybe we should inject bleach into ourselves, but I'm not a doctor. But I'm not a biologist. But some scientists seem to be saying that because these are 100% the same, it cannot be natural. That cannot be an evolution of the virus. So,
no.
When I first started researching claims that certain scientists were saying this could not be a natural virus, I was able to find lots of examples. Now, following up during the edit, I can't find many. They seem to have been taken down.
No. And if you've got scientists stating that kind of, but basically for a zoonotic jump to occur, you'd expect there to be some kind of mutation in the virus. But when you've got exact 100% match on the spike protein, it's the key that allows the virus to to penetrate through the cell wall and inject its RNA into the cell in order to multiply.
If we talk about Xi Zhengli, the Batwoman of Wuhan province, a major scientist and sort of leading scientist in coronaviruses over the last 10, 15 years, really, since Mars and SARS, isn't it? Really, she's been doing a lot of research in this area. Yeah, all of the Western intelligence services basically are investigating this woman, and we know this through the Australian government, who weren't so quiet about admitting it, but they're on that 4 ticks agreement between Britain, America, Canada, and Australia that they share intelligence. So they were quite open about the fact, we're investigating Xi Zhengli. So.
And it seems
to tell us
with good reason as well, since she was, she was working on viruses that were collected by the People's Liberation Army in China from bats from the Zhejiang province. Yeah. She'd been working on the specific coronaviruses from bats and working on synthetic variants or modifying them in order to them to infect other species.
Yeah, so she was really the scientist that realised how this was happening and identified 2 or 3 different viruses in bats in the southern parts of China that were very SARS related, like 90% related to SARS. And then, so she released a few papers. 2010, she released a paper that focused on this cross-species infection and the identification of this S protein. 2015, she wrote a paper about synthetic virus research that she was going into. They'd already injected a SARS-like virus into a bunch of mice that then died from extreme lung damage, which sounds familiar. And in this paper back in 2015, she was then talking about potentially moving on to primates. Yeah. Which, if you're doing primates, what's next?
Oh, obviously humans.
Us.
The reason that research has been directed in that way, from mice to primates to then, that's pretty much what they do when they're testing anything, cosmetics, anything that's consumed by humans. They run it through mice and then primates.
So how did she react? That's an interesting one. When she was the first one to identify as well that this was a coronavirus. She was the first one to release the paper at the end of early January this year, saying, this is a corona type virus and it's not the flu. So she, when she found out, was in a report in a meeting room in China, in Beijing, and she, by her own words, because she was in an interview 2 or 3 days ago, by her own words, she freaked out when she realized that this coronavirus had originated in the Wuhan region. Because she, again, with her own words, thought it had escaped her lab.
Which would make sense if you've been working on similar things in that laboratory and the outbreak was in that city.
Yeah, because she actually says she would expect it to originate from the southern areas of China where there's the rainforest regions, where these bats actually are. She wouldn't expect it.
Yes.
Yeah, she wouldn't expect it to start in the Wuhan province at a bloody market where they don't sell bats anyway. So, again, in her own words, she had many sleepless nights because she was convinced it had escaped her lab. She only then stopped panicking when she saw the genome sequencing and realised it was different to the genome sequences of the viruses she'd been working on.
Yeah.
But we've only got her word for that. And it's took this Xi Zhengli until now to actually give an interview and start telling anybody anything.
Yep.
So it seems to me that there's a woman that's been looking into SARS-type viruses, has been looking into how to genetically modify those viruses and then modify these S proteins so they can infect humans.
Yep.
And then was convinced her work had escaped by her own words. And now we're supposed to believe that it wasn't, that these are just coincidences.
Well, I suspect the China Communist Party got to her and told her to release the second statement, would be my guess.
Yeah, or else.